Welcome back to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast, your place for all things tech in your online business with some solid hits of general biz chat too. My name is Patty Meyer, and I am the CEO and founder of Biz Magic, where my team and I support entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed by the back-end tech of their business. We create, implement, and teach the tweaks that help our clients make a bigger impact with less stress. Today, we are focusing on a topic that's essential for sustainable growth: accounting and finance, specifically for non-traditional and women-led businesses. Whether you're navigating your first hire, figuring out how to manage your books, or just looking to build a stronger financial foundation, the conversation today is going to support you. I have a guest with me who brings deep expertise and a passion for empowering business owners to lead with confidence and alignment. And her name is Dr. Daisy Valentin. Dr. Daisy Valentin is a Puerto Rican business consultant and the co-owner and CEO of Valentin Consulting, LLC. She holds a doctorate from Walden University with an emphasis on accounting, finance, and quantitative analysis, as well as certifications in project management essentials, Lean Six Sigma White Belt, Six Sigma Essential, and teaching English as a foreign language. She has been an online professor in the higher education sector for over 8 years, teaching at various universities and colleges across the country and internationally in both adjunct and other academic roles. Dr. Daisy Valentin, along with her expert team, is committed to helping small, non-traditional, women-owned businesses succeed. With over 20 years of experience in accounting, finance, and business leadership, Dr. Valentin provides specialized services in accounting, finance, payroll, and business coaching through Valentin Consulting, LLC. As advocates for women entrepreneurs, she and her team understand the unique challenges they face and are dedicated to offering solutions that support business growth. Valentin Consulting, LLC works with women-led businesses to simplify financial management, ensure payroll accuracy, and provide strategic coaching that empowers business owners to reach their goals. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about how to simplify your financial systems, avoid common pitfalls, and create a business structure that truly supports your goals. Let's dive in. Hey, Daisy, how are you? Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Patty. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So I've read a little bit about you already, but I would love for you to just sort of share with the audience just a little bit more about you in your own words, something that maybe we wouldn't know from the bio, and how you got into doing what you do.
Well, my name is Dr. Daisy Valentin. I am the CEO president of Valentin Consulting LLC. And I'm not sure if I shared this on my bio or not, but me and my husband are very big avid NASCAR fans.
Don't think you did.
We love NASCAR. A lot of people think NASCAR is not, like a boring sport, but for us, it's a really enjoyable sport. We had our youngest son at the age of 11 months at our first NASCAR race. So that's one of those
Ah,
key factors about us. Um, but how did I get into accounting and finance? Well, I've been doing accounting and finance for years, even prior to getting my degree. And I think it just really expanded from COVID, really.
mm, okay.
I started as a corporate in the corporate sector and then went into education after having my youngest son. And then what I decided to do is during COVID, it was like, you know what? A job can be gone. A job can be gone. And I think I need to
Hmm.
put what I work so hard in my education and my experience to practice. So I decided that it was time to start my own business. And I did. I started my own business back in 2021, February 2021. And then I also became a publisher at the same time. So I
Oh,
published my own book as well, Believing You. So that's one of the things. It's a motivational book. It tells my journey, it tells my testimony, my story from where I am to then at that time,
mm.
where I was at that time, and in the process of hoping to do a sequel to that. book, hopefully.
Ah, I love that. So yeah, you've when you were in corporate world, you were doing accounting and financing, or you were doing something else?
No, I was doing accounting and finance. I was overseeing all the accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable, as a corporate controller, overseeing some of the, like I live here in Minnesota. So one of the organizations that I worked for was like Girl Scouts of Minnesota. I also worked for, another organization that had been around for over 100 years,
Mhm.
here in Minnesota. So I was the corporate controller and I also traveled to different states because they have different locations. So the accounting sector, that main person in the top of the accounting side of things, so I
Yeah.
call it, because a lot of people don't like accounting, and so I'm like, yeah, I was that person in the top that had to go over there and put in the processes. And as a corporate controller, it's not just accounting, because
Mm.
there's a lot of different purposes in there. It's you have the payroll, you have accounting, you have management operations and things like that fall under that. So accounting and finance is one of the big things. About 20 plus years I've been doing that.
Wow. So how was the transition for you as you moved from sort of this corporate world, which is so different from running your own business in so many ways? Like, what was that transition like for you moving into a business owner all on your own from that sort of experience for so long?
Well, actually, I've been a business owner before. The only thing is I didn't have the education that
Mm.
I have. So, when I was 18, I owned my own cleaning business. I had over a
Okay.
hundred homes. I had contractors, construction. I also, when I had started my degree, I also had my own small mortgage business as well.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of the timing, right? The
Yeah.
timing, because I also didn't have all the education that I thought I needed it, even when I owned my own mortgage business back in Florida. But it's all about educating yourself in the right way, because
Mhm.
having in a business, it's not just about, and that's where now this business transitioned to, was because having a business that's not accounting, right? But knowing that you have to be accountable and your accounting and finance is really, really important. And I think that I didn't have that at the time when I started
Yeah.
a business back then, years ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I just went into, with the times and the market down back in 2009, I had to close my doors to my mortgage business. So, I was one of those ethical mortgage companies where, unfortunately the business wasn't there because people
Yeah.
didn't want it ethically
Right.
done. So,
Right.
ethically done. So I'm like, hey, I gotta close my doors because I can't do that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
decided to put my education to
Mm-hmm.
use, right? To use and start working for, I worked for Miranda Homes, which is in construction. I mean, I can read plans. Like, I was a superintendent to one of the largest companies, and having my degree really helped me reach goals, starting from like management, rising up to a corporate controller. So I think that's having a business, starting a business is easy. Maintaining it and
Yes.
understanding the ins and outs of it is the problem.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah.
That's the transition.
And so and so you work with sort of non-traditional women-owned businesses, marginalized owned businesses, things like that, right? And so what do you see when these small businesses come to you, and what are some of the most typical challenges that people have when they show up and they want to start working with you when it comes to their accounting and their finances?
Well, the typical situation is they don't feel that they have enough resources. They don't feel like they are seen, or that in some cases it's like that they don't know, right? They
Right.
don't know what's out there for them. So I feel that, being my experience where I've been there, done that in a kind of way, in a non-traditional basis, and me being a non-traditional business as well. We do cater to women-owned businesses and not traditional, but we are okay, touching base with a male here and there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it's not just
Same,
the
same. Yeah.
women, but That's our niche, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that when it comes to non-traditional businesses, because they're unique, right? Freelancers, consultants,
Mhm.
coaches, direct sales, LMMs, businesses like myself. We're not those big 3M, Walmarts, out there. We're not those big name brands, right? We're some of those brands. We are a small non-traditional business, but we still need to help other small non-traditional businesses with what we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That's the niche too, is that how do they know that? Like, how are they looking for that? So that's where we come in and specialize in supporting those non-traditional businesses, because
Yeah.
we are a non-traditional businesses. We're not a typical CPA
Yeah.
firm.
Yeah. And so for me, right, one of the challenges that I've had when I talk about Biz Magic's money, right, and looking at finances is almost that like I was afraid to look at my numbers, that it felt very intimidating and very scary to look at my numbers because I think number one, I didn't know how to interpret them all the time, and what is a profit margin exactly, and what does it really mean, and what we like, and what is a good profit, and what is not enough, and all of these things that just felt very overwhelming. And so I found actually in the last year, and BizMagic's been in business for 8 years, but it really was only the last year or two that I was like, oh shit, I should probably actually look at my numbers better. Like I tracked everything, so for my taxes. But I wasn't very good at like really trying to analyze them and really look at them because I was so intimidated by them. Do you find that as an experience with smaller businesses and the businesses you work with? And if so, what kind of advice do you give them to get them out of that intimidation?
Thing I come across day to day, day to day. Okay. One thing that I always tell my new clients, or just speaking, because we do business coaching as well, speaking to clients, is make sure that whoever you're working with lets you know that tax accounting and accounting are two separate things,
Mm-hmm.
and that you want to be educated. We want you to be educated. I'm going to say it from a perspective of Valentin Consulting. When we help you, we want to educate you. We don't just want to do the work for you. We want to educate you. We want you to know why your financials are what you're looking at. We want you to know why these expenses are where they're at. We want you to have that experience. And what we come across is people are afraid to look at their numbers. They're not afraid to do the work. They're not
Right.
afraid to make the money. They can make the money. A lot of the people I come across, they making money. They just don't
Yeah.
know how to manage their money.
Right.
Okay. And what happens is they're afraid, absolutely, because they're afraid to ask for help because they think it's going to cost them a lot of money.
Mm,
Okay. And
yeah.
that's where I come in, because Valentin Consulting, as I mentioned before, is not your typical accounting firm. It's not. We help with payroll, we help with accounting, we help with finance, we help with various spaces, but we do it on a tier-based pricing.
Right. Right.
And it helps people because it's like a Netflix subscription.
Right.
Who
Right.
doesn't have a Netflix next to Netflix subscription, right? But we also offer the training with the bookkeeping, with the accounting, with the payroll. It's not just that people are afraid to look at their numbers because many are afraid of math.
Right.
Many are afraid of looking at the math, looking at what, maybe they missed something, or maybe they're not doing well as they think. But it's a matter of educating yourself.
Right.
A non-traditional business owner needs to always think about educating themselves in everything. And whoever they go with, they don't necessarily have to go with me. But if they come to me and we do a brief financial analysis for you, just to see where you are at,
Right.
so we can tell you and guide you where you're at. That's our start of educating you. And we tell people, hey, if you want to know something, ask the question. Don't feel afraid,
Yeah.
because it's your business, it's your money.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of so when you start so let's say somebody is working with you. What kind of like blind spots or mistakes do you think and see some of your clients making when it comes to their own accounting and finances?
That is an amazing question because the first one is mixing business with pleasure.
Okay.
What I mean by that, mixing their business with their personal
Mm-hmm.
finances. You want to have a separate bank account for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And where I find the big mistake is people just taking their money out of their business, but not accounting for it.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that you learn how to pay yourself. I have a lot of people that tell me, "Well, I can't pay myself. I don't make enough." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You making good enough money to
Yeah.
pay yourself." I tell clients like, "Hey, you got to think about that in a way that okay, how much do I need to sustain myself? Like if you don't have a separate job, most small non-traditional businesses, they have another job. They
Right.
have a full-time job, right?
Right.
So I try to tell them to think about this. It brings back Robert Kiyosaki. I'm gonna quote him, Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he says, you have to be a B2 business. You have to know you don't leave your full-time job until your business is making what your full-time job can cover.
Right.
So you need to think, what is it that you need? How much is it that you need? And how can we budget it in to pay yourself
Yes. Yeah.
and implement that? Because if you're not paying yourself, this is why you're taking the money out of your business. Because you're taking the money, but you say, oh, I can't afford it, but you're taking the money.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You're taking that
Exactly.
money. So, you can't afford it because you're taking the money. You don't see that you're taking the money. But if you make an effort and say, I'm going to pay myself, whether you pay yourself as a 1099 or
Yep.
you want to see taxes taken out, you pay yourself as a W-2. It doesn't matter. Pay yourself first.
Yeah.
That's your biggest expense.
Right.
Until you start
Yeah.
paying yourself, you won't see that's one of the biggest ones I say.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
paying yourself.
Yeah, and I think that goes to like I know you do business consulting as well, and so sort of that's one of the things that when I talk to people about pricing and things like that is you want to take your own payment, your salary into consideration when you're pricing your services. And that for me, I was good from that from the day one. I as soon as I could, I got a separate bank account, but I wasn't, but I would basically just like take money as I needed it from the account. And then I reached a point where I was able to say, okay, I need to pay myself on a schedule. And so even though I was still a 1099 for a while, now I'm, an S corp filing, so I pay myself with payroll. But at the time, even then, even though I was 1099 and I'm just transferring from one place to another, I still did it twice a month. I did it on a schedule, and to this day, I pay myself on a schedule. If it's not payday, I ain't getting the money, and that's just how it is. Like I know like I can whatever, but that for me is really important for making sure that things make sense and kind of they feel like the business that it is, right? It's sort of keeping myself in that
Absolutely.
mindset. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you hit it right on the money. People know to separate their bank accounts. They do
Yeah.
know it, most of them, you know. But when it comes to making sure you pay yourself, that's one that people don't think about. And what you stated too is people don't think about pricing. Think about operating expenses includes your salary.
Yes.
Okay. It does not, you do not discount your salary from operating expenses.
Yeah.
And that's where many small non-traditional businesses don't see these things because they don't see it as I tell them you got to see yourself as one of those big box stores. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
They account for salaries,
Yeah.
wages as part of their operating expenses. And what happens is I do a lot of talks and I do education. I also teach in university where I tell students and business owners, hey, if you're wanting to open a business, if you're wanting to start up your entrepreneur or you own a business already, in your business plan, you should have paid yourself. That's
Right.
one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people don't do in their business plan. They put a great business plan together. They think about payroll as other people. They
Mm,
don't think about payroll as themselves
right.
when that comes to play. So that is
Yeah.
really, yeah, really exactly what you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. So So for people who, because I'm sure you get this too, right? Is people who come to you and things are and they're like, okay, so maybe I haven't been doing my books really in the last couple of years. Maybe I haven't been, or maybe they do their taxes with TurboTax just because they have to and they do what they have to do. So what kind of tips do you give people when to number one, catch up when they feel behind on things in their business and money? And then the second part is what kind of tips do you give people to keep updated, keep maintaining their accounting, their books, so that they can be looking at their numbers, they can look at paying themselves, all of the stuff that that is, I wanted to say should, but I don't like shoulding. So like that it's beneficial for people to be doing in their business. So what are again the ways to catch up and what are the ways to stay moving forward in a really good place?
Well, we could use the word could instead of
There we
should.
go. Yes.
Could instead of should. Well, the one thing that I tell them is find a good accountant, not a tax accountant, an
Right.
accountant that can really guide them and educate them. Okay, because not everybody's for everybody,
Right.
right?
Right.
Finding that is one of the crucial pieces because you want to find that because doing TurboTax, that's great. You're getting their taxes, but are you getting your benefits? Because making sure that they have a good accountant that's guiding them, directing them, educating them to what they need to write off to get the most benefits.
Right. Right.
Okay. And also guiding them that when they reach a certain level in their business, how they can transition. As you mentioned, you're an S Corp, how they can transition from an LLC to an S Corp or to a corporation
Right.
versus an S Corp. Because of the fact that many times, you know, they don't know what they don't know. So making sure that they are educated. And if they feel that it's too overwhelming, then how much are you willing to pay? What is your budget?
Right.
Look for people that are willing to work with your budget and outsource it to
Yeah.
someone that you know that can at least do the basic bookkeeping for you, which is reconciliation, making sure you're tax compliant, make sure your expenses are get that making sure that you're getting what you need to get to see the benefits from you
Mhm.
having this entity and also to seeing the benefits when you go do your taxes, because what happens is people want to just do their taxes and they think they can write off everything in the world. In
Right.
some cases we can, but in
Right.
most
Right.
cases we can't. But you
Yeah.
also got to take in consideration if you're trying to apply for a loan, if you're trying to apply for purchasing a home, or if you're trying to buy a commercial property, you can't write off everything
Yeah.
because you're
Right.
not going to be showing your income, you
Right.
know? You know,
Mm,
that's one of the key factors. It's understanding how accounting works to be able to provide you the what you need when you need it. Because the other thing I say to clients too is think about building credit with your business,
yeah.
right? If you're building credit, like credit cards, things like that, or a credit loan or equity loan or something like that to sustain your business, but your business pays back that equity loan. So you're building credit for your business.
Right.
That's a liability. So it doesn't really show up as an expense, but it does show up as a liability, which still reduces your debt to income ratio or even your stockholders' equity per se, but not in a bad way, right?
Okay.
In a good way, where investors want to invest in your business, right? But what people don't see is if they're not showing and they're not doing their bookkeeping, you can't see that.
Right.
All you're
Right.
seeing is the tax side of things, and the tax side of things doesn't show the true picture.
Yeah. So, and what are your thoughts about people? So, I'm somebody who I DIY in the sense of I maintain my spreadsheets and everything like that throughout the year. I put all my expenses down. I make sure I track everything, and I do have people that I work with to do my taxes and check up with multiple times a year to, for my estimated tax and all of that. And they help me with also advising me on when I needed to switch to an S corp and what the benefits of that and walked me through that. And so because I'm like at one point reached the point where I was like, okay, it's worth it to me for the peace of mind to invest monthly to have these people that are supporting me so that because there's so much about that like I said feels intimidating and overwhelming and that sort of thing. And so I knew there was so like I would have never knew to go move into an S corp, never, and what that meant, and then what it meant to have to pay myself and a reasonable amount and all of that. Like I would have never understood any of that, or the Augusta rule, right? And so having people that help me with that is really helpful. But in the meantime, I just track everything on my spreadsheet and keep that going. So I don't have a separate accountant because I just sort of do that. What are your thoughts when it comes to people sort of DIYing, maintaining their finances in a spreadsheet or in whatever they use while also working with, an organization or an accountant or a tax accountant or that sort of thing?
It's okay to have those spreadsheets, okay, for your own sanity, because many
Okay.
of them need it for their own sanity,
Yeah.
okay? But I always tell clients or people that DIY their stuff, have some type of accounting software. There are many, many accounting softwares out there that are free
Yeah.
that you can just start off with and start implementing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that many CPAs should be recommending, because
Okay.
it makes it easier on those CPAs when you are touching base with them every so often. In some cases, some people's CPAs only talk to them once a year.
Right.
So you want to be able to say, hey, I want to find that accountant that is going to tell me every 3 months or every 6 months, hey, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Those spreadsheets can be converted into a specific file to upload into those softwares, so you can kind of keep accountability of what you see, because those spreadsheets are great, but are you really looking at it as a whole, instead
Mm-hmm.
of just the spreadsheets, right?
Mm-hmm.
DIYing their financials is great to a point, like I mentioned a little bit
Yeah.
earlier. If you're trying to get a loan, you're trying to get credit, you're trying to buy something, those financials are not suffice
Got it.
how
Yeah.
you're DIYing it. Okay. Lenders, investors, they want to see more. They
Mm.
want to see more.
Right.
And it gets terrifying for people, because they're
Yeah.
like, well, what do you mean I need more? Well, yeah, when you go to a banker and you're wanting to get a line of credit to help you, probably purchase equipment, or you're starting a new product, manufacture product, or you're starting a new service, they want to see actual financials,
Mm.
using
Yeah.
actual software.
And the
And
reporting that comes with all of that, because you're not able to pull
exactly,
reports and really look at things in the same way with spreadsheets
absolutely,
as you are if you
absolutely.
have it all together in one place.
Absolutely. Those finance, like I said, those Excel spreadsheets or whatever anyone does, they're wonderful. But you want to be able to implement, there's very, simple software out there
Oh
to
yeah,
start
for
off
sure.
with. Okay.
Yeah.
I tell people it's not just QuickBooks. Okay.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
There's
know,
Wave,
that
there's FreshBooks, there's so much. Yeah.
there are so many different platforms out there, and every accountant if they're an accountant, the right accountant knows how to use those different platforms. Okay. And, I'm not saying that QuickBooks is not a great tool. It is a great tool, but it's not the only tool.
Right.
Every company, every non-traditional business, including yourself and myself, we may have to use different accounting software based on our services,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you can start off with, one of the most very, small accounting softwares, but as your business grows, so does your software, like anything
Right.
else.
Right. Yeah, which I know lots about, right? As a tech person, right? That's a big part of all of that. Which I know sounds so crazy that I'm like such a tech person. I'm like, but I do my accounting in a spreadsheet, you know?
I know, right? But the thing is, you got to think about one thing.
Yeah.
It's a write-off for you too when
True.
you invest in
Yeah.
that software.
Yeah.
It's an expense for your business, but it's a benefited expense.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
doing it on the spreadsheets and stuff like that, that's not an expense. You don't have a lot of write-off there.
Right.
But when you start implementing this resource or this software, it has advantages, right?
Yeah.
There's apps, it's mobile, it's available to you. Once I get clients set up on their mobile, whether it's QuickBooks or whatever software we have on them with, they are like, oh my gosh, I can do it from the palm of my hands. I said, yes, you need to invoice something, you can do it from the palm of your
Yeah.
hands. So it's so easier. You don't have to take your big old laptop or your computer with you if you're trying to run your business. You can do it from the palm of your hands.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And so, okay, so here's one of the places that a lot of small businesses get to, right? A lot of us have contractors, and so we have all of our people on 1099, right? I have a small agency, and so is there a point at which, so right, as I said, when I became an S corp, I had to then pay myself on payroll, right? And so I suddenly needed to do that and then was looking at payroll taxes and all of that fun stuff. And I did at that moment kind of look at, okay, what would it look like for me to transition some of these contractors into employees? What does that look like, that process? Because that's another intimidating process for a lot of people of saying, okay, it's time to take my business from having contractors to adding one or two employees and therefore kind of bringing in payroll taxes and all of that. Do you have any thoughts or advice or anything on just that process, or when it's a good time, or what people can expect, or just anything along the lines of navigating from contractor to employee within their business and payroll?
It all depends on the person and the business, because you can start off with a payroll company service from one employee, from one
Right.
person.
Hmm.
You can run payroll from just that. It all depends on how many people you are transitioning or the type of subcontractors that you have and what's the service for, like the type of, it all has to do with like their titles, like what exactly are they doing for you,
Right.
as a subcontractor and as an employee. Because now you got to think about which one gives you the most tax break too, as
Right.
well. Because and then also thinking about, does that employee plan on having their own business and you're subcontracting their business, or does that employee person not really wanting to be an entrepreneur and they just want to work for you,
Right.
right? So that's one of the key factors. Having the payroll always comes down to having the shift in where are you at financially, how can you transition it, because when you start running payroll, now there's more on your plate as expenses
Right.
as
Yes.
well,
Right.
versus you doing it yourself, just hiring somebody as a 1099. There's not that much. It's a bigger write-off for you as your business because
Right.
it's a 1099. But if you start implementing people into W2s, or even yourself as a W 2, now you got to think about all the different pieces that are involved in there,
Right.
from FICA, SUDA, paying payroll based on where you live as
Hmm.
well.
Right.
Because you got to remember, when you own a business, depending on where you're housed, what your location is, you got to pay taxes and payroll taxes for city, county, state,
Right.
not just federal.
Right.
So that's one of those key factors that you got to think about. Where do you see it beneficially for you,
Right.
you know, to do that? Now, the other thing is your accountant affiliated with a payroll company? Like, we are affiliated with a specific payroll company that gives discounts to our small non-traditional businesses, that if they get to a point, and I've had many, that they need to have that payroll piece. They need
Yeah.
it. They make enough money to take it to that point because they need that workman's comp. Okay?
Mm. Right.
Workman's comp is very expensive if you do it on your own.
Mm,
Very pricey.
right.
But if you do it through a payroll company, do it through a payroll service, it's pennies on a dollar.
Okay.
And that is where you need to know what you're doing. You have to have workman's comp. You have to have business insurance that covers your employees. And that is where the expense is at. Are you ready to make that move? And
Yeah.
if you are, the best way to do it is hiring a payroll service to do it.
Right. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing with payroll, if I may add,
Yeah, please.
is it does your accounting software implement that?
Mm-hmm.
Does it offer you that? Not
Right.
every accounting software does that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So you have to be sure that you know that you could have something that can be integrated with a platform of payroll or that has itself. They still do the same processes, right? They still do the same payroll processes and workman's comp, but also making sure that you shop around and get your best pricing. You don't just want to go with the first Joe Blow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you want to make sure that you, when you're going to do that shift financially, right, from employees to contractors or contractors to employees, it can go vice versa too.
Yeah.
That you know what you're going into and do you have that budget to cover it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's ultimately why I sort of was like, okay, so I am on payroll and only I am on payroll. Like it was an expense that was a little too high for me at that point and where I'm at in my business and I can see the benefits of it. It's just not there yet, right? And so I think that that's a it's everything about running a business. It's steps in different directions and always stopping and assessing kind of where you're at and what makes sense for you. And this is, I think, the same and one of them as well. So yeah.
Add something to that too, because you don't necessarily have to pay yourself being an S corp as well. You can start paying yourself being an LLC.
Right.
So I want to clarify that. You can be you know I meant I heard you say that you started payroll at S corp, but I want people to
Okay.
get that clear. You can start paying yourself and having payroll from being an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as your business grows financially, then you transition to which one best suits you, an S corp or a C corp.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because they both have the same benefits. There's some pros and cons to both, but there's some both benefits to both.
Mhm.
But when in any entity, you can start payroll.
Right. And I think my understanding was that because I became an S corp at that point, I had to put myself on payroll. Like you had to have, I
Not
believe.
necessarily. Not
Oh, okay.
necessarily. That depends on the opinion of that CPA.
Okay.
It's not necessarily that
Uh,
way,
okay.
because you're a shareholder of your business as an S
Right.
corp.
Right.
So you still have to recognize the income as a shareholder
Right.
because you're given shareholder funds. That's still income on your taxes.
Right.
Now, as a C corp, you want to be an employee because the C corp separates the business. The business does its own taxes. You do your own taxes. Where
Right.
the LLC and S corp, it's all incorporated into your personal taxes.
Correct. Right. Yeah, got it. Yeah. And this is why hiring people is so important because there's so much that when I start to even like, there's even been moments when you're talking that I'm like, my brain is exploding right now. I don't know what you're saying anymore, you know? And I think that it's so important. It's the same as, I tell people all the time, you hire me for things because you shouldn't need to know how to do these things in your business just because you have a business. And this is the same thing. For me, this is something that when it comes to the number side of things, my brain just melts. And so why would I put myself through that and put my business in an uncomfortable position to try to save some money or for some ego or for something like that? And it just makes more sense for me to make sure I'm paying somebody to make sure that things are being done well and in a way that is the most optimal for my business.
Absolutely, because one of the things that I see too, is making sure that, you know, non-traditional businesses really think about the transition of going from, LLC to S corp. Understanding that process, understanding where you need to be in that process. And not only that, when it comes to understanding like not just payroll, but where you're at in your business to when you're
Yeah.
going to implement your accounting software. I
Yeah.
always tell people think about long term. Don't think about right now.
Right.
Well, how is that whatever you're going to do going to benefit you long term? I've heard it by many people that you want to have five different people in your corner. Like you said, I can't do what you do. I'm an accountant. Yes, I know how to use the software, but I'm nowhere near a tech person.
Right. Right.
Okay. So you always want to find your accounting person, your finance person, okay, your business attorney, your IT person. You need your top five people
Yeah.
that you can go to. And it's really important to know that. And then also knowing that those people are there not only to help you do the work, but also transition you to educating you and training you on what you're doing
Yeah. Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely.
Because if not, you're going to get lost. And I always tell clients it's better to pay the cost up front and invest up front
Right.
than having to change it up every year, every quarter, or whatever it is, and it's costing you more money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's worth it. It's so
Mhm.
worth it. And again, to know that it's being done right. And
Exactly.
that because that's my fear too, is that I'm going to do something wrong and then all of a sudden I'm going to owe thousands and thousands of dollars that I wasn't expecting. But being able to say with confidence, I know this is done and this is done right. It's done well. And it's one less thing for me to have to worry about because look, we have plenty to worry about as business owners. So whatever you can take off of your plate that isn't your zone of genius, do it. And I think money is one of the top most important things that is worth outsourcing in your business with somebody that you trust so that you know that it's taken care of and it's done well. Yeah.
And I agree with that 100%. I feel that as small, especially small non-traditional business owners, we have to worry about a lot more
Yeah.
because we most of us are one man shows.
Hmm.
I am not. I have a team, but I didn't start off as a
Right.
team, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
started off as a one man show, right? So you really have to think about your future. You want this business to run just like any box
Yeah.
store runs, right? You want to be able to go off to a faraway island and say, hey, my business is running itself. I don't have to
Right.
worry about my business while I'm out here, in Tahiti or something like that. I'm
Mhm.
just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But it's true, right? You want to be able to spend time with your family and not have to worry about, oh, I can't go to my dysfunction because my business needs me.
Right.
So those are parts of what I tell a lot of business owners is think about how you set up your business plan. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is it that you've implemented in there that you can really hone in, because payroll is the number one expense in any business.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you are a big top brand or you're a small non-traditional business. Payroll is
Mhm.
your number one expense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always nice when I can say, "Oh, my net revenue I brought in, what, 15, $20,000 this month." But the reality is it sounds great, but okay, well, I've paid out $12,000 in payroll or contractors. Like it really
Huh?
you know,
Exactly.
but that's what makes my business run, and that's part of it. So it is something to really think about from that perspective as well. Um, are there any tips or one top tip that maybe you haven't shared yet today that is something that you would love to or that you like to share, either just with my audience or that you share with your own clients?
One tip I say is educate yourself.
Yeah.
Get a book, join a webinar, listen to podcasts like this. Find something that's going to help you educate yourself.
Yeah.
It's never too late to educate yourself. It doesn't matter if you have a doctorate degree or you don't have a degree. It does not matter. You're a savvy person. You started a business.
Yeah.
Educate yourself. You can never stop educating yourself. One thing that many small businesses tend to think is that they can't continue to thrive and be successful. You
Mhm.
know, they do, but they don't find they get into a stagnant or some kind of like rut, right? Where it just is like stop there.
Yeah.
And you need to educate yourself on how you can level up,
Right.
right? How can you level up your business? And sometimes it's not just leveling up your business, but leveling up the people you are surrounded with, like the people you
Mm,
picked as those five main things. They
yes.
might have worked for you when you started your business, but they're not going to work for you as you continue to grow.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients that all the time. I said, hey, when you come to me, you're one of those people that are between the 2 to 5 range
Yeah.
years, right?
Yeah.
When you start hitting that level, where you start getting to that zone, I'm going to transition you to someone a little more higher than me.
Right.
Why? Because you're going to need that capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to know that you got the people behind you that's going to help you get to that space too.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't mind my clients moving on. I want them to move on to something better than me,
Right.
not
Absolutely.
lower than me. Not somebody that's going to take from them, but help them grow with them. Because if you're not getting educated or training or consulting, whether it's books, education, podcasts, whatever it is, then you're not filling your cup. You're not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree completely. Okay, so since I'm a tech person and I love tech and Biz Magic's all about that, what is your favorite piece of either accounting software that you prefer to use? Doesn't matter if it's with your clients or not, or any piece of software in your business that's your favorite to use.
Google Workspace digitally.
Oh, uh-huh.
Why? Because you can take it anywhere you need,
Yeah.
and you can access it and give access to your clients, have access to, confidential information of your client at the fingertips of them. If you don't have Google Workspace or something similar to that, which is like a cloud-based support system,
Yeah.
you need it.
Yes,
You
I
need it.
agree.
I'm
Completely
telling
agree with
you.
you.
I'm telling you, even during my doctorate, I was like crying one time by not having this,
Mhm.
because you can't rely on your computer to house everything. You can't rely on that external hard drive to not work one day. You gotta have something cloud based.
Yeah.
You do. And you gotta make sure that, we all want to save money. We always want free. But I'm gonna tell you, if you pay for it, you're gonna get the benefit of it.
Yeah.
And it's a little investment that will be a very good thing for you.
Yeah.
Because if you lose your laptop or your something crashes, or forbid you drop coffee on your
Yeah.
computer or something like
Right.
that, and you got to go get a whole new computer, you know what I mean? You're a tech person.
Mhm.
You can be able to access that platform from anywhere, your
Yeah.
email, things like that. So I say a Google Workspace has been one of my top favorites to invest in.
Yeah. I love it. I
Absolutely.
agree completely. And that's great. This has been so great. I appreciate you so much chatting with me. Where can people find you if they want to work with you or learn more about you?
Well, you know what? I want to say thank you so much. It was a pleasure and honor to be here on your podcast as well. And where people can find me, well, you can find us at www.valentin.com, which is our website, but we also are on LinkedIn and Facebook. And you can find our pages there at valentin.com. I mean, Valentin Consulting LLC. But you can also just email us at info@valentin.com. And that is Valentin as Valyntin, because our name and the name of the business is totally different. So a lot of people want to spell it that way, but those are the places where you can reach us. And we are more than happy to offer any, brief financial analysis or a free 30-minute consultation to anyone that reaches out to us.
Thank you so much. That's great. And all of this will be in the show notes as well, the spelling of everything and all the links. So people can come and
Okay,
find you
awesome.
there. So awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast. Like most small businesses and podcasts, we rely heavily on word of mouth. So if you like what you heard today or in any episode, please share with your friends and colleagues and rate, subscribe, and comment on your favorite podcast platform. Till next time, cheers to your magical biz success.